I'm Laura, 33. As I sit in my luxurious suite at the Four Seasons, the snow outside gently covering the city, I can't help but reflect on the events of this Christmas. It was supposed to be different, a time when my family would finally see me for who I've become. But as I sat at the dining table, watching them all open their lavish gifts while my place remained empty, I knew that some things never change. I come from a wealthy family in the heart of New York City. My parents, Henry and Elizabeth, are well known in high society circles. Henry is a successful real estate mogul, always driven by business deals and social status. Elizabeth is a socialite who spends her days attending galas and charity events, obsessed with maintaining the family's perfect image. My older brother, Alexander, 37, is the golden child. He graduated from Yale Law School with top honors and now works at a prestigious law firm. He's married to Isabella, a beautiful socialite, and they have two adorable kids. Every time my parents talk about Alexander, they're filled with pride, boasting about his career achievements and his perfect family. My younger sister, Sophia, 30, is a world-famous fashion model. She's graced the covers of the most renowned fashion magazines and has walked the runways of Paris, Milan, and New York. My mother keeps a scrapbook of all Sophia's magazine features and proudly shows it to anyone who visits our family home. And then there's me, Laura. I've always been the overlooked middle child. I was never as academically brilliant as Alexander, nor as stunningly beautiful as Sophia. In high school, while Alexander was getting straight A's and Sophia was starting her modeling career, I was just an average student, interested in technology and programming. Our family Christmas gatherings were always a display of wealth and status. The gifts were extravagant, and it was more about showing off than genuine giving. For as long as I can remember, I've received the least thought-out presents. When I was 17, Alexander got a brand new sports car, and Sophia received a trip to the Maldives for a photo shoot. I got a set of pens and a simple diary. When I tried to hide my disappointment, my mother said, "Laura, be grateful. You don't need something flashy like your siblings." This pattern continued year after year. One Christmas, Alexander got a membership to an exclusive golf club, and Sophia received a collection of designer jewelry. I got a gift card to a local bookstore. Whenever I tried to talk to my parents about the disparity, they told me I was being too sensitive. During my junior year at Columbia University, where my parents pressured me to study business, I was miserable. I had no passion for business. My heart was in technology. After a terrible phone call with my father about my mediocre grades in business courses, I made a decision that shocked my family. I dropped out of college. My father was furious and refused to speak to me for weeks. My mother cried, saying I was throwing away my future. Alexander lectured me about responsibility, and Sophia couldn't understand why I would give up such a good opportunity. With the little money I had left from my college fund, I moved to Silicon Valley. In Silicon Valley, I started small. I built an e-commerce platform from scratch, selling unique software solutions for small businesses. I taught myself coding late into the night, studied business strategies during my lunch breaks at my part-time job, and reinvested every penny of profit. While my family thought I was barely making ends meet, I was secretly building a digital empire. I expanded into multiple digital ventures, including a cloud-based storage service and a project management app. Despite my success, I still returned home for Christmas every year, hoping that one day my family would see me. This year, it had been 5 years since I launched my company, Novatech, and 10 years since I left college. As Christmas approached, I seriously considered skipping the family gathering. My assistant, Lily, had found some amazing luxury resorts in Hawaii where I could spend a peaceful holiday. But something inside me wanted closure. My company, Novatech, had just acquired its biggest competitor, a move that made headlines in the tech industry. I was featured in Fortune magazine, with a 2-page spread under the title, "The Tech Visionary: How Laura Built a Digital Empire." The company's valuation had reached 9 figures, and industry experts were calling me a genius. I prepared thoughtful gifts for my family. For my father, I got a rare first edition book on real estate investment that he had mentioned wanting years ago. For my mother, a vintage brooch that matched her favorite necklace. For Alexander, I made a donation to a legal aid foundation in his name, and for Sophia, a weekend retreat at a high-end spa. When I arrived at my parents' mansion in New York, it was decorated as extravagantly as ever. My mother answered the door with a polite but surprised look on her face. "Laura, you're here," she said, giving me a brief hug. Inside, Alexander and Isabella were arranging presents under the Christmas tree, while their kids played with expensive toys. Sophia was lounging on the sofa, scrolling through her phone. Throughout the day, I was constantly ignored. When I tried to mention Novateka's recent acquisition, my father interrupted me to ask Alexander about a new high-profile case he was working on. Later that evening, I overheard my parents talking in the kitchen. "Did you get something for Laura?" my mother asked my father. "What would we get her?" my father replied dismissively. "She doesn't appreciate the things we choose for her, and we didn't expect her to come anyway." On Christmas morning, the atmosphere was tense. The breakfast was lavish, and the house was beautifully decorated. But as we sat down for dinner, I knew it was going to be the same as always. My father raised his glass and made a toast to the family and to Alexander's new legal victory and Sophia's upcoming fashion campaign. There was no mention of me. After dinner, it was time for the gift exchange. My father stood by the tree, selecting gifts one by one. Alexander received a large investment in his law firm for my father. Sophia got the title deeds to a luxury apartment in Manhattan. One by one, other family members received their gifts. And then, to my shock, my name was skipped. My mother finally noticed and asked my father, "Didn't we have something for Laura?" My father fumbled and said, "Her gift was delayed in shipping. We'll send it to her later." It was a blatant lie. This time, I couldn't take it anymore. I calmly stood up, went to my suitcase, and retrieved a copy of Fortune magazine and a portfolio of my company's financial statements. I returned to the dining room and placed the magazine on the table. "I thought it was time you all knew the truth," I said. "This is about how I built Novatech from nothing to a 9-figure company in just 5 years." My family was in shock. Alexander picked up the magazine, his eyes widening. "This is your company, Laura?" he asked. I nodded and laid out the financial statements, showing our user base, our revenue, and my 65% ownership of the company. My mother's hand trembled as she reached for her glass of wine. "Laura, why didn't you tell us?" she asked. "I've tried for years," I replied. "But every time I mentioned my work, you changed the subject." My father looked at me with a mix of confusion and interest. "This is extraordinary, Laura. You should have told us. We could have helped." "Could you have?" I asked. "You've always dismissed my interest in technology as a passing fad." The room fell silent. For the first time, my family was truly seeing me, not as the disappointing middle child, but as a successful businesswoman. But instead of feeling satisfied, I realized that their newfound interest was based on my success, not on who I was. I gathered my things and said, "I'm not staying. I've spent years hoping for your approval, but I don't need it anymore. I've built a life that makes me happy, and I'm proud of what I've achieved." With that, I walked out of the house and into the waiting car that took me to the Four Seasons. Since then, my phone has been buzzing with messages from my family. My mother's texts are filled with apologies and requests for me to come back. My father wants to talk about my business. Alexander has sent me a message saying he's sorry for how he's treated me, and Sophia has asked if she can be the face of Novateka's next advertising campaign. I'm not sure what the future holds for my relationship with my family, but one thing is certain: I've finally stopped waiting for their validation. I've embraced my worth and the empire I've built on my own terms. As I look out at the snow-covered city, I know that I'm in control of my life, and I'm ready for whatever comes next.